Hello and welcome to the Rambling Movie Club, where each episode we try and watch something new and then talk about it. This episode is a little bit different because we're taking a quick look back at 2019 and then also taking a quick look forward into 2020 to see what's coming out. I'm joined by Brenda Zambrano again.
Hello.
And yeah, first of all we're going to take a quick peek at 2019 and then we'll talk about what's coming out next year. I should point out we're really only talking about movies that we've seen. Some of these only one of us has seen, but we're kind of really focused on the movies we've seen, so there's going to be some movies we missed out. And again, for 2020, we're not omnipotent. We're going to miss out a few movies and things. So if there's anything you think we're missing out from our list, feel free to comment any way you like on Instagram, iTunes. Can you comment on Spotify? I don't think you can comment on Spotify.
I have no idea,
Okay.
but if you know, then do it.
Yeah, feel free to give us a message somewhere and let us know if we've missed something out.
Also, we're gonna try to make no spoilers. Don't worry, if you haven't watched any of this, feel free to just keep listening to this podcast.
Yeah, we kind of just want to highlight things like if you've missed, we think you should go back and watch from the last year. One thing I should also say, kind of off the bat, is I feel like this year, and we were talking this a little bit just before we started recording, we kind of feel like this year has been a little bit of a weak year for movies. There's been big movies and big event movies, which we'll talk about, but there was very few things like Christopher Nolan and stuff. Their movies are coming next year. All the big directors, most of them have taken a year off this year.
Yeah, but I think this was actually literally an ending movies year, because it was the end of a lot of the movies that have been with us for the last decade. So
Yeah, that's true.
all right, so let's get started.
So, first movie, and I would say this is probably my favorite movie of 2019, which might be a surprise, is Shazam. It's also one of the very first episodes, I think it's the third episode of this podcast. I really like Shazam because I kind of felt like it was DC really finding their feet and getting away from Marvel's shadow and really doing their own thing, with the fact that it was a darker story, but then it's also it was a story of a kid who randomly gets superpowers, and it felt very true to that. Did you see Shazam?
I listened to the episode of Shazam, and now I remember that's why I kind of know what Shazam is about. But I also remember that I watch a lot of trailers and stuff, so that kind of spoiled me. And I really like the sister, the little sister that
little
is
sister, yeah.
very smart.
Yeah.
And she is
Yeah, she's one of the best characters in it. But yeah, I felt like it was very much DC finally finding their voice. And Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, was kind of then taking a step forwards towards that. And it still had a little bit of elements of setting up for Justice League and stuff like that. But then I felt with Shazam, it was very much no, we're doing our own thing. This is completely separate. And it was just fun to watch, to be honest. And again, there were dark moments, which is what DC is good at. They're good at having these really silly moments and fun moments, and then going into the harder, dark stuff. And that's what made things like Batman great, with even the animated TV shows from the 90s. There was these harder moments that it's the dark stuff makes the light stuff much better.
I remember that when I realized about the movie and the trailer, part of my head was this is just DC trying to be Marvel. But after that, a lot of people were just talking about the movie. They were well, it's actually pretty good. And you have a lot of fun. It's one of the favorite movies of my sister.
Oh, okay.
So, but she has a very silly humor. So that's why I couldn't trust her.
Yeah. It's not a perfect movie, but yeah, it's enjoyable. Next on the list is one of the first endings we had this year, is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Oh, I cried so much on that movie.
Yeah, which is us kind of saying goodbye. It's not really a spoiler, it's kind of very much hinted at in the trailers that this is the end of the trilogy, and we kind of get to see what happens to all of our favorite characters.
The story about how we went to watch that movie is pretty funny, because Jamie was in Mexico with me, and in Mexico all the animated movies are not translated. No, I mean they're all translated.
Yeah, they're not translated from Spanish into English, they're all in Spanish.
Yeah.
So there's no subtitles or anything.
And the only place where we could actually watch that movie in English will be Mexico City, that is 2.5 hours away from my city, that is Puebla. We had to make a travel of 3 hours and stuff just to go watch this movie, because we had to.
And we went there and back in one day, so yeah, it was a long day.
At that moment, we were it was not worth it.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun day.
Yeah. Next on the list is John Wick 3. Kind of continued the John Wick saga. And then again, it's just basically more of the first two movies.
I really like that there's a dog on it.
2 dogs.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Doubles the number of
Well,
dogs.
technically, there's 3 dogs.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He's John Wick's dog. But yeah, this kind of continued to more was it Gun Fu, I think it's called, is all his combat, where he does all his karate moves and then shoots people.
And of course, Keanu Reeves will always be perfect. My dear Keanu.
Brenda has a massive crush on Keanu Reeves. I mean, the one thing I would love to see, and it's not really a spoiler, but one thing I would love to see coming off this movie is a Halle Berry spin-off in the John Wick universe, because her character is amazing. Like, the fact that like she trained and does all the stunts to the same level as Keanu Reeves, as much as she can. Obviously, she hasn't been training for the last like 5-10 years like he has making these movies.
Well, yeah, you're right. I think that's something that could be very good for it. So it's a very, very good movie. If you haven't watched it, then you really need to.
I think it should be called John Wick 5, Me, My Dogs and I.
Well, I like a movie that is just John Wick and I. So
Okay, I think we can move on. Next up, we've got kind of some of our event movies. I kind of put these in their own category because there were some big events as like movies kind of tying off. And the first one is kind of the elephant in the room, which was Avengers Endgame. The culmination of 10 years of Marvel movies, and I think there's like 16 Marvel movies building up to this.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know how many Marvel movies there's actually, like till Endgame just to create all that. But it was an ending. It was like all that I needed. It is actually not a bad movie. It has a lot of things. It leaves you with a lot of questions, but it's pretty good. And I cried, but I cry very easy.
Yeah, trying to get that big cliffhanger ending like tied off, and it kind of satisfies it, and you know, kind of closes like a chapter of the Marvel universe. It doesn't like finish the Marvel movies, as we know there's plenty more to come, but it does like give you like kind of a satisfying end to that chapter.
Yeah, at least to the Avengers. So how they say, like, was it good? Was it bad? It was an end, and
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
That's the thing. Like, I didn't think it was great. It's not perfect. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. Definitely not. But it's definitely not perfect either. So it's okay to watch. We rewatched it again the other day over Christmas. So
Oh yeah, it's always a good movie because you always find something that you actually miss. It was like, oh, I didn't remember that.
yeah, exactly. Next up was Frozen 2, which came out right at the end of the year.
I cried so much.
You'll notice the theme here, which is of course the follow-up to one of the biggest Disney movies ever. So we both quite enjoyed it actually.
Yeah, I'm a kind of Frozen fan because I actually enjoyed the first movie. I was like, I want to go watch Frozen 2. But it's a very good choice. Like, it's not the perfect movie, definitely not.
No, and kind of like starting off, like some of the songs and like the movie kind of feels like Frozen 1 Part 2. And like some of the songs kind of feel like they're retreading what the first movie did. Like you're like, oh, that sounds like that song. That song sounds like Let It Go. Like, but then like as the movie kind of gets going and it like kind of finds its own story and like goes its own way.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a Frozen 3. We don't know.
Probably. It made so much money, it's probably going to have a Frozen 3 at some point.
Well, they already have a lot of money with so much clothes.
Yeah,
so
the outfit changes every 5 minutes.
So, yeah. But if you haven't watched it, go enjoy it. It's like a very good time.
Yeah, and then the final one on our event movies is probably the most controversial of the whole year, and that would be Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, which of course finishes off the trilogy of trilogies, which has been going for 40 years or so at this point.
Yeah. I cry so much. No, not really. I think I cry, but just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's only a tiny bit. We won't say when because spoilers. I felt like it's not a perfect movie. It definitely isn't a bad movie. I kind of enjoyed it. Like you can kind of just switch off and watch it. As long as you don't go in expecting too much to be like, you know, this is the best movie I've ever seen. Like then you'll be disappointed. But if you just kind of go in for a fun movie, like that's definitely it.
Let's just say that you're not going to be disappointed. It has all the things that a classic Star Wars movie has. So,
C-3PO, Chewbacca.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as long as Chewbacca's in there, there's a movie.
Yeah. And it answers most of the questions that they've kind of been raised in this trilogy. So, it's okay. It's an ending.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to see, like, franchises being ended rather than just going on forever.
Yeah, like, it's good to say goodbye.
Yeah. Looking at you, Fast and Furious, with Fast and Furious 9 coming out next year. It's just technically Fast and Furious 10 because we've had spin-offs now. All right, next, let's move on to TV because there's actually some really good TV shows this year. Also, none of these are in any particular order, by the way. It's just us just talking about things that we liked this year.
like the ones that we remember first and stuff. So it's not really like, oh, this is our favorite, and then going by.
Apart from Shazam, that was my favorite.
All right, well.
TV. There was some really good TV. Most of it, to be honest, that I watched was through things like Netflix and Amazon Prime. There was some really good stuff on there this year. First thing, and this is I've actually accidentally done this in the order they came out. First one was Umbrella Academy, which kind of came out of nowhere for me, which is I feel like it's quite unknown, especially before it came out. It's a comic book series written by the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, Gerard Way. And it very much has his fingerprint on it. It's very weird and very different from any other like Marvel or DC stuff. It's about a family of superheroes who have like kind of all fallen apart, and they used to be like a crime fighting team when they were kids, and they kind of all come back together as adults to try and stop the end of the world.
It definitely has a lot of scenes that you're not expecting to see, and it has a lot of like moments that you think everything's gonna be very predictable. And at the end, it's like, whoa, how does that happen?
Yeah, and like things like their powers are also very different from like the normal. Like you've got things like a kid who can time travel, but he can only manages to time travel once and then get stuck in the past. Get stuck in the future. And like things like they're very dysfunctional, and like I say, their powers are not what you quite expect. So that's nice to see.
And as always, there's a girl that you hate with all your heart.
I don't know if that's as always.
It always happens. Is that just because we were talking about Twilight?
I don't think so.
Maybe.
Next up, again, following that was The Boys, which again happened to be a comic book adaptation. But this was on Amazon Prime, and it was a really, really good comic adaptation. And it's kind of all about what happens if superheroes were real and all they cared about was money and fame.
I really like that. The main character is a little hard for me to understand because of the accent.
He's British and swears every 2 seconds.
Yeah, but I really enjoy it. It's definitely one of my favorites till now, like considering like all the shows that I've watched.
Yeah, it kind of feels like with things like Deadpool as well, like the natural progression of superheroes, like you couldn't have brought out The Boys like 10 years ago, it wouldn't have worked. But now that we've had like a decade of like Batman, Superman, Iron Man, and like all the other Marvel movies, like now we can kind of make fun of them. And like, you know, things like there's like an Aquaman type character who they all make fun of because his powers are pretty much useless.
Well, yeah, also is good because it's very real. Like, it presents real world scenarios and how the superheroes most deal with them. It's just like, it shows a way for you to understand, like, how the society, the power, and the people work. So it's very, very interesting.
But then also it's managed to be really silly at the same time.
Yeah. It is. It's a weird mix, and you don't know how to feel at the end of every episode.
Yeah.
So that's the good part of the show.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's definitely worth watching. And then finishing up, this kind of snuck in right at the end of the year, which everyone's kind of talking about at the moment, so you might have seen it. And that'll be the Witcher TV adaptation that was on Netflix.
Yay!
I was kind of been looking forward to this for a long time. I've played all of the Witcher games. I've read about half the books.
Definitely.
I think I got into it when The Witcher 2 came out, which is over 10 years ago at this point. I think I should be just under 10 years, I think, The Witcher 2 came out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've had
I only know that you have a crush on... Who is it?
Triss.
Yeah.
Triss.
Jennifer.
Triss is the best. That's because you've only seen the TV show and you haven't played all the... play The Witcher 2 and then tell me that you don't love yet Triss.
What do you know about life?
But yeah, it's really good. It's kind of if you haven't seen it, it's a fantasy TV show, all set in like medieval times with like magic and like monsters and stuff. But then it's also got like really hard questions. Like it deals with things like racism, where things like elves and dwarves exist, but they're hated by humans and treated like dirt, and they've kind of like had enough of this. And at the same time, there's like like an army invading and trying to take over the whole place.
Well, like if you've never played this kind of games and it's definitely not your type of content, you can still watch it definitely because I really like the games and stuff, but it's very hard for me, for example, to play The Witcher 3 because it gets very scary for me. and I just want to stop playing because I don't know how I'm gonna be killed on the next game. So it kind of shows the creatures that you can find on the games and stuff, but it's like the start of everything. So you can really enjoy it even if you haven't played or read the books. So it's very, very good. But if you get scared easily, then watch it with someone.
It's not that bad. But yeah, that was our kind of quick look back at 2019. As we said before, if there's anything you think we've missed, like, feel free to shout it out to us at some point. These kind of things, if you've missed them, we would recommend going back and watching. Now we're going to have a quick jump and see what's coming out in 2020. So, first one, and we're recording this on New Year's Day, and we've actually just watched this.
So, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Is Jojo Rabbit, which came out in America a few months ago, but in the UK has only just come out. And yeah, we actually want to watch it today.
Yay.
We won't talk about it too much. We won't say that for a
I
future
cry
episode.
so much.
Which is kind of, it's a weird one to explain. It's about a kid who grows up towards the end of World War II in Nazi Germany. And he's kind of involved in like these youth groups as the kids there were kind of done. But it's kind of done in like a comedy spin. And it's all about how his imaginary best friend is Hitler. And Hitler is Hitler and is basically tries to get him to do crazy things. So he's like this like really crazy situation. He's like, what should I do? And he's like, oh, I know, I should reason with them. And Hitler's like, you should burn their house down.
Yeah, it's just like, it's a very unusual view of how the war was and how actually like the German kids used to live it. So for someone like me that is from a country that was actually not part of the war, is a totally like new like view
Yeah, like
of the whole
perspective.
thing. Yeah, exactly. So it's very good. I definitely recommended it. Doesn't matter from where you are, and don't cry or bring tissues or
Yeah.
something because I cry so much with this movie.
Next up on the list is Free Guy, which, have you heard of Free Guy?
No, not really.
It's a new Ryan Reynolds movie coming out this year, who you might remember from Deadpool.
All right.
He is Deadpool. Basically, it's all about he is a non-playable character in a video game. So he's a side character who hands out quests and stuff, who then realizes that he's in a video game and tries to take it over.
Yeah, you show me the trailer.
Yeah. And it
I
looks
think,
like...
Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit is directed and stars Taika Waititi, who made Thor Ragnarok, and is also Korg in Thor Ragnarok.
Really?
Yeah, he's also going to be in Free Guy as one of the characters.
Wow. All right.
So Taika Waititi is everywhere, apparently.
Yeah, like I think that man knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So yeah, look up for that. I don't know when that's coming out. I should have written down release dates. That would have probably been helpful.
What did you tell me was the name?
Free Guy.
No, the director.
Taika Waititi.
He's someone in the movie. He's Hitler.
Yeah, he's Hitler in Jojo Rabbit, yeah.
Oh my god!
And he was also Korg in Thor Ragnarok. You knew that one, I already told you that one. Anyway, let's keep moving. Next up on the list is Tenet, which is the new Christopher Nolan movie. Which, if you're not familiar with Christopher Nolan, you've probably seen his movies. He did the Dark Knight trilogy, he did Interstellar, Inception, and most recently he did Dunkirk. This is his new movie, and nobody really knows anything about it. There's a trailer for it, and the trailer doesn't really explain much, and that's kind of intentional, I hope. And basically, it's something to do with time travel and spies, and it has Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
He was Edward in Twilight.
Oh. Meh.
So everyone's going to be watching this and criticizing him because it's going to be his first big movie since he did, since it was announced that he'll be Batman. So everyone's watching this, like, is that Batman? Is he Batman? Is that Batman move?
Wait, was that real?
Was what real?
That he's going to be Batman?
Yeah. Brenda is in shock right now. Her brain is blown, apparently. I see you keep up with the news.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so a couple of that. And then another Ryan Reynolds movie makes the list with Hitman's Bodyguard 2, which again, I know you never saw the first one. Hitman's Bodyguard 1, if you haven't seen it, is basically, it's a road trip movie with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, where they both basically play themselves. Samuel L. Jackson swears every 2 minutes, and Ryan Reynolds is just his normal sassy self. And basically, Samuel L. Jackson is a hitman, and Ryan Reynolds is a bodyguard, and so he's trying to protect Samuel L. Jackson.
All right.
And there's been a few of these like buddy like road trip movies. Like there was one with Robert Downey Jr. after Iron Man came out.
Oh, really?
With one of the guys from The Hangover. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Yeah.
You know the guy with the big beard?
Alan.
Yeah, him. They did a movie together, and it's awful. 'Cause most of these road trip movies.
About his wife
Yeah.
that's gonna have a baby.
Yeah, and it's crap.
Nah, I like it.
It's bad.
It was very silly.
But most of these movies definitely never get sequels, so this is definitely the rare exception because it was very, very popular. And then next on the list, we've got Last Night in Soho, which is a new movie from Edgar Wright. Again, you probably don't know his name, but you've probably seen some of his movies. He did his full chronological movies. He did Spaced in the 90s, and then he did Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, which you've seen.
You know, all the time that you say all this data, I just think that I know nothing about movies.
It's almost like I watch a lot of movies. Maybe I should have a podcast about movies. He's done Hot Fuzz, he did The World's End, and then he did Scott Pilgrim, which you've seen Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
He also did Baby Driver, was his last movie, and then his next movie is going to be, Last Night in Soho. It's some sort of horror movie set in London is all that's known about it. And then there's also another Kingsman movie coming out this year called
Yay.
The King's Man, and it's going to be a prequel set during World War One, and which I'm quite excited about because it's going to be with a bunch of characters that we don't know, and we can kind of see like the founding of Kingsman.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, because this is going back like 100 years, we don't know any of the characters, and so they can die. They're not protected by movie plot.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, I really like that movie, like the first one of Kingsman. The second one, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of it.
The second one was a bit rushed.
Yeah. But let's hope that this one will just like be as good as the first one and bring it back.
Yeah, so wait and see what happens. And then to kind of round out our list, we've got two ones that we really enjoyed from this year, and that's The Boys and Umbrella Academy. Have both got Series 2s coming out next year.
Yeah.
So we're quite excited to see those.
I'm more excited about The Boys.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah.
I kind of enjoy it a little more than Umbrella Academy.
I see. The Boys is more fun, but then I like the story of Umbrella Academy, so I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because, I like the Umbrella Academy because it's, like a living comic.
Don't you want to see more Klaus?
What?
See more Klaus in Umbrella Academy? 'Cause
Maybe.
he's everyone's favorite. Him and Five are everyone's favorites.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, I want to.
So anyway, so that was our kind of look back at 2019 and look forward at 2020, as I've probably said like 4 or 5 times throughout this episode. Like I said, if there's anything you think we've missed or anything that you think we should watch that we missed from 2019 or anything we should look forward to for next year, feel free to send us a message on Instagram at Rambling Movie Club, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Right, so have an amazing year and we'll see you soon.
Next episode is going to be Thor Ragnarok, which I know I promised before Christmas, and I took a bit of a break, but it's still coming. So look out for that.
All right, so
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
bye-bye.